Tyson, aka Chris the Meme God, used to arguably be the most masculine out of all the Mr. Beast cast members. However, in recent times, Chris has had a major change in appearance since he has been taking estrogen hormones in order to feminize himself. In my previous video, I covered how Chris became extremely hated by becoming transgender, and in this video, I will go over the why and try to objectively discuss all the potential factors that might have led to Chris's transitioning. Chris showed many masculine features just a few years ago. Since he wore short hair, was pretty strongly built, he dressed masculine, and would always be the person that would show their masculinity in challenges. Therefore, it might seem very unexpected seeing that Chris started painting his nails, started growing out and curling his hair, started wearing more feminine clothes, and became more feminine in general. As of today, Chris seems to be gender non-confirming and doesn't specify which pronouns he wants to be referred with, and simply says any pronouns. But we first need to understand what feelings and thoughts lead to humans becoming transgender in the first place. It is not fully researched and understood yet what the underlying causes of being transgender are, but according to the American Psychological Association, experts believe that the main reasons are biological factors such as genetic influences and prenatal hormone levels, early experiences, and experiences later in adolescence or adulthood. But this is where it gets interesting. According to the same source, some embrace the transgender feelings while others struggle with feelings of shame or confusion. Those who transition later in life may have struggled to fit in adequately as they assign sex, only to later face dissatisfaction with their lives. These are the exact feelings that Chris has tweeted about when announcing his bisexuality. Also, I want to use my all to let everyone know that I am bisexual, and when I told the few people I did when I was 16, I got a lot of negative backlash from friends/family. So when Chris was not able to talk freely about his sexuality, the same might go for his gender identity. The people around Chris, such as friends and family, might have not been very supportive of Chris's change, since it is unclear what opinion the Mr. Beast crew had about LGBT people. We know that Jimmy and Chris had made a video joking about transgender people, so they might have not been very supportive back then. Many people also had or still have the opinion that being transgender, or generally having gender dysphoria, is a mental illness that needs to be treated as soon as possible. Their position is explained best when reading a few tweets. If you're a married man with kids and you decide to leave them to become transgender, you are a horrible person and you don't deserve happiness. Your family takes precedence over you. Transgenderism is a mental illness. I'm fat and disgusting. I need to starve myself more to be pretty. No, you're anorexic. I need to eat a healthy diet. I feel it in my bones that the CIA replaced my arm with a tracking device. I need you to cut it off right now. No, you're just schizophrenic. Here's some lithium. I feel it deep in my bones that I'm actually a girl who was born in the body of a man. So you need to cut my dick off. Sure, that'll be $25,000. This opinion obviously opposes that of Chris's, but everything would change after Chris became friends with Karl Jacobs. Some people had a theory that Karl had intentionally turned Chris queer and would call this the Karl effect. But even though the Karl effect as described here might have not been fully the case, we will see how Karl might have had a different effect on Chris. Karl is a pretty huge name in the Minecraft Dream SMP fandom, otherwise known as the MCYT community. For some reason, many people from the MCYT community love to ship creators with each other, especially non-heterosexual ships such as George Not Found with Dream or Karl with Sapnap. Through this, Karl has built an audience of people that are very supportive of the LGBT community, or even LGBT themselves. Whether or not Karl himself has something against queer people, in order to satisfy the expectations of his audience, he needs to be supportive of LGBT people. But Karl not being an ally of the LGBT community would be very unlikely, since he was always open to explain his supportiveness and would not have a problem to put himself in situations that could be described as gay. It is of common knowledge that humans adapt to their peers, especially when they mean a lot to them either as a friend or a partner. We know through Mr. Beast himself that Chris and Karl became extremely good friends.
But like I didn't want to steal Karl from CJ, right? But the thing is, the thing is, Chris just fell in love with Karl, and Chris was like, I don't want to film if Karl's not here.
You watching, Katie?
Yeah.
So when Chris started surrounding himself more around the LGBT community and public figures in this matter, he may have automatically adopted some characteristics this circle on the internet had to offer. These characteristics might have been actual queerness, or just the idea that you should live out and express anything that you feel comfortable with. This means that it is unknown if Chris started having gender dysphoria because of the LGBT community and Karl, or if he always had the need to change his gender, but never was able to talk about it or let alone live it out publicly. But we know that he used to be unable to talk about his bisexuality, which could have a correlation with his inability to talk about his transgenderism. Perhaps when Chris's feelings about his identity were rejected by his friends back then, he now feels the need to express himself in the fullest way once he knew that there was a giant group of people accepting him. Whether or not this change affected him negatively or positively is not for me to decide, but some people find that this change affected Chris and his family negatively, since his 2-year-old son Tucker grows up with a transgender gender non-confirming parent and is lacking a father figure. It is very selfish of you to abandon your role as the masculine father figure and head out of the household. You're either suffering from mental illness or coping hard because of old tweets. Either way, it's not too late. Quit watching porn and sort yourself out. Followed by 2 dark humor memes Chris has posted saying, when you gotta shoot hoops at 3 and black kids at 4:30. When you're hitting it from behind and she says Hitler did nothing wrong. But other people hold the opinion that this doesn't remove Chris's right to express himself freely, especially in a first world country. You're glowing, heart. Thank you, YouTube, purple heart. Not liking a person for having a shitty past is one thing. We all know that Chris got cancelled, but being transphobic/homophobic towards them is wrong. Chris should be able to express himself however they want to. Gender is not black and white, male and female. Chris is Chris. Even though it is never easy to predict the future of someone's career and personal life, as we saw for example in Sneeko, we can derive from this that Chris will now keep on pursuing his ideology since he has become a figure in a new community that now cherishes him for coming out. His ex-community though is not very fond of Chris's change, and they either talk about how they want the old Chris back or how Chandler is actually better than Chris now. But that might not be detrimental to Chris, since when time passes, his audience will also change, so the number of people disliking him now might be replaced by the LGBT supportive community who love to see a public figure come out. This becomes more clear after a recent livestream on the MrBeast 2 channel where Jimmy, Chandler, Nolan, Chris and Carl were unboxing gifts their viewers sent. Chris was wearing a crop top, skinny jeans and a hairband, which made the viewers extremely polarized and talk about Chris's appearance way more than about the content.
Here is the handheld car air pump, a tool that can inflate all tires. Put the nozzle on the tire and press the switch. It will be fully
It also seems like that the word Chris is completely blocked off of the comment section in order to counteract hatred. But instead of talking about how much they dislike Chris, people started talking about how much they love Chandler and that he is the best. We want more Chandler. In the end, Chandler was the real winner. Chandler still the best. Chandler won the challenge after all. Since Chris is an extremely polarized figure, no matter what he does or where he goes, there will always be people supporting him. This becomes very clear through the comment section of my video, which is literally split in half, where one half argues that what Chris is experiencing is a mental illness that affects him and his family. Chandler may have lost a lot of challenges, but at least he never lost himself. And the other half argues that it is completely normal and people should let him do whatever he wants. Congratulations to Chris for finally living their truth. If Chris kept on going with his hormone therapy, the LGBT community would not have a problem to support Chris's decision. But if Chris suddenly decided to stop his hormone therapy and started to become more masculine, his old community wouldn't have a problem to welcome him back. So currently, Chris has both doors open and can decide quote unquote on which side he wants to be on. Some people were also under the impression that MrBeast doesn't really support Chris's change, since there were clips on TikTok uploaded where Jimmy has a negative facial expression after Chris does something. Even a bunch of MrBeast edits were made to honor a moment where MrBeast let his quote unquote MrBeast 6000 out.
Be kind, Mr. Beast. That is my tagline.
Hey, nice shirt.
Thanks, dude. Nice shirt.
Thanks. Nice shirt.
Nice shoes.
Even if, completely hypothetically speaking, Jimmy was against Chris's transitioning, he has stated multiple times that he will do anything to do the best videos as possible and become the best creator on the platform. But if Jimmy suddenly showed signs of quote-unquote transphobia, it would be basically career suicide. But it is unclear if this change affected MrBeast as a whole negatively, since there were people arguing that the MrBeast channel is now more inclusive of the LGBT community, that it might positively affect his name. SunnyV2 made a video about this where he went more in depth, but he received a lot of backlash from this. MrBeast kind of denied Sunny's whole video by explaining this in a recent tweet. This new SunnyV2 video feels really invasive for all the wrong reasons. Like, why did you make this? Delved into the man's marriage and shit. It's just really off-putting and unnecessary. Yeah, this is getting absurd. Chris isn't my nightmare. He's my fucking friend and things are fine. All this transphobia is starting to piss me off. The severity of this incident was so unimaginable that SunnyV2 became the top trending topic on Twitter, with many people getting mad at him over tweets. However, the comment section of SunnyV2's video doesn't seem to hate Sunny for this video, but their dislikes speak for themselves. There have been some minor incidents happening here and there, where for example a Twitter user was joking about being sued by Chris, and Chris would expand this joke by saying that Mr. Beast is his lawyer. But the unsettling part about this is that many people thought that this was a real DM Chris sent, and that Chris was actually suing somebody over a tweet. It's unclear where the future of the Mr. Beast channel is going with Chris's transitioning. Some people spread false rumors on TikTok by claiming that Mr. Beast apparently kicked Chris out of the channel. And there are also whole TikTok pages making petitions that they should kick Chris from the cast. As time passes, it seems like Chris will get more and more feminine. But again, it is never clear what